Hello yogis, it's Emma here. Thank you for joining me today. Our class is about the grounded, calm and steady energy that we might associate with our root chakra, Muladhara. So in this class we're going to be staying either quite close to the ground or focusing in on the connections that we make with the body and the mat and the earth beneath it. You don't need any particular props for this class unless you normally like to have some around, in which case by all means have them by your mat. And we're going to start lying down in constructive rest pose. So come down to a comfortable position with your shoulders level, your hips level, your feet on the mat about hip width, and your arms at the side of the body with your palms either up or down, depending on how you feel, which one of those two options appeals to you. Allow your eyes to close if that feels comfortable. And feel the connection of the back of your body, the back of your arms, the soles of your feet, the back of your head on your mat. Taking slow breaths in and out through your nose. And letting the earth take the weight of your body. Beginning to let everything settle and drawing your mind inward, ready for the practice of yoga that's ahead of us. We'll stay here for about 5 or 6 more breaths. Now you can keep your eyes closed as you lift your feet and bring your knees into the body. Apanasana, our knees to chest pose. You can wrap your hands around your knees or hold one knee in each hand. You can also take your knees wider than your hips if you wish. Bringing your knees to the outside of your ribs. You can also have a little movement from side to side or even go around in some circles. Whatever you're doing, make sure that you do a symmetrical or rather a balanced practice. So if you go a couple of times one way, go a couple of times in the other direction. Good. Okay, keeping the knees in, we'll take a twist in revolved abdomen pose. For this, you could either reach your arms out wide with your palms up, or you could bend your arms into your cactus or your goddess arms. But if that doesn't feel good for your forearms or your wrists, please go to a wide position. Then let's breathe in and breathe out to take the knees over to the left side, keeping your right shoulder down or drawing down. And if you want, you can turn and look over towards your right elbow. If you're looking over to the right, bring your gaze back up to the ceiling. Inhale your knees up and exhale, knees to the right. And optionally look over to the left. Breathe in. Oh, first of all, gaze back up to the ceiling. Bring your knees in. Have a little squeeze, knees to chest. And then one more pose. Down here on the back, bridge. So feet down to the mat. Let's bring the heels in under the knees. Arms at the side of the body. And I'm going to give the option to either do a regular bridge or to do the shoulder bridge. So let's push down into the backs of the arms and the feet. Inhale, lift the hips into the air. And use the strength of your back body to lift up through the front body. And then either stay here or bring one shoulder and then the other in, interlacing your fingers and climbing up a little higher on your shoulders. Whichever bridge you're in, let's stay for another 3, 2, and 1. From shoulder bridge, release your interlace hands back to the sides, and together we'll exhale. And bring the hips slowly back to the mat. There's no hurry for that. When the hips land, hold the body in that position for a few breaths without any movement. And then very gently sway the knees from side to side in a baby windscreen wiper pose. And then let's start to think about coming up to all fours. So find your way into tabletop position. And let's do some cat and cow. So wrists under shoulders, knees under hips. Any problems going on with the wrists, pad or maybe take your wrists a little further forward than your shoulders. And then when you're ready, start to go into some cat and cow. With your breath, inhale, tummy down, chest forward, gaze ahead, lift up in the tail. And as you breathe out, tailbone under, a rounded spine, chin to chest, and separate out the shoulder blades. Inhale, belly down, chest forward, continue. And exhale, rounding. Keep going with your own speed. Okay, let's do 2 more of each. And now 1 more of each. So you'll finish in a cat stretch. And then back to your table. Let's go into child's pose. Send the hips back. Either keep the arms straight, bring the forehead down, or rest onto your forearms. So whichever option works the best for yourself. And stay for 5. On your next inhale, come up to your table. And from table, let's move to melted heart. For melted heart, we'll walk the hands forward and allow the chest to start to draw down. Option to bring the forearms down, or the forehead, or chest and gaze forward. So find a variation that you like and stay for 5 breaths. Keep your hips high up over your knees. And then carefully, we're going to bring the weight forward and settle onto the front of the body. And bring your feet close together. Oh, I feel like I've come off the edge of the mat. I'm going to do locust pose, Shalabhasana. So, big toes touching, arms at the side of the body, palms facing up. Hover your nose close down to the mat. And as you breathe in, lift your arms and your legs, your shoulders, your chest, and lengthen your toes away from the crown of the head. So once again, using strength to lift. This time, instead of lifting up with the chest forward, we're lifting up with the back at the top. So for another couple of breaths. And then exhale, come down into either your reverse corpse or into your crocodile pose. So after doing the locust, we'll just let the energy flow around the body. And then from here, we're going to come to downward facing dog. So bring your hands under your shoulders, push up and find your way into a downward dog in the middle of your mat, spreading out your fingers and pushing down firmly through your palms. Lengthen your shoulders away from your wrists, soften your knees, and lift your hips high. Your elbows are close to your ears. Stay for another 4. Another 2. And then walk your feet to meet your hands in the middle of the mat. Fingers to shins, lift halfway. And then forward fold, chest down towards the thighs. Let go of your head, maybe opposite hand on opposite elbow. And maybe have a little side to side with the neck, or the hips, or the shoulders. And then from here, let's come up to mountain pose. Push into your feet, lift with the chest, inhale, and come all the way up to standing. Okay, so take a quarter turn to face the long edge of your mat. And first of all, let's set up a strong and stable foundation in mountain. So take a look down at your feet and line up the outside edges of your feet with the edges of your mat. So both feet face 12 o'clock. You can touch the big toes together, or if you feel more stable, have your feet hip width apart. Then ground into the 4 corners of your feet. So underneath the little toe mound, underneath the big toe mound, and then either side of your heel. So lifting up the toes and then spreading them out as you put them down on the mat. And I like to kind of grip with my toes so that I feel really, really connected to the mat. I know not everyone likes that spready toes business, but you do get used to it. All right, let's push down, and as we push down, send the energy up through the body and out through the crown of the head. Relax the shoulders down. And just stand with the energy of mountain for a few breaths. Good. Warrior 2. Let's take the legs out into a nice wide step. Bring your arms up to shoulder height with the palms down. And then turn your right foot 90 degrees and your left toes ever so slightly in. From here, breathe in. And as you breathe out, bend your right knee, keeping your shoulders over your hips. Then turn your gaze to the middle finger of your right hand. And we'll stay for 5 breaths. So a strong back leg, a nice bend in the front knee with the knee tracking towards the second and third toes. Breathe in, straighten your right leg, hands onto hips, feet to parallel, and then we'll change and do the other side. So right toes in, 90 degrees with the left foot, arms up, and exhale to bend. Good. Take your gaze to the middle finger of your left hand, relaxing your shoulders. Now inhale, straighten your left leg, feet to parallel, and exhale completely. Excuse me. Okay, now we're going to come back into Warrior Two, and we're going to change Warrior Two into extended side angle. All right, arms up, right foot to 90 degrees, left toes in. Exhale, bend into your front knee. Okay, let's take a moment to really focus on the mountain foundation through the feet. So spreading out the toes maybe, pushing down into the corners of the feet, and using that connection to fire up an activation in the legs. Okay, now from here, let's take the elbow, not the elbow, the forearm just above the right knee, and then sweep the left arm under and up. If it's in your practice to take your hand to the mat, by all means, go into that variation. Otherwise, stay with me and focus on rooting down. As you root down through your back foot, reach, reach, reach through your left fingertips. Good. We're coming up, so push down, back to your Warrior Two. Straighten your right leg, hands to hips, feet to parallel. Exhale to reset. And then we'll change. Arms up, set up Warrior Two with your left knee bent. Okay, so find that mountain connection through the feet. Forearm down. And then bringing your right arm under and up. Stretching through the side of the body. And then getting ready to come out, push down. Inhale back to Warrior Two. Straighten your left leg, feet to parallel, hands to hips, and then step or jump your feet together. Good. Okay, Padangusthasana, standing hand to big toe pose. I think I'll turn side on so you can see me doing this. Okay, so let's take the arms overhead. As if we're in, well, not as if, we are in extended mountain. Breathe in here. And as you breathe out, take a fold and bring your hands down to the mat. Bend your knees as much as you need to and take your feet to hip width apart. Then take your two first fingers, your peace fingers, and loop them around your big toe from the inside. And you can bend your knees as much as you like here, so that you can see complete connection there between thighs and upper body. And then your options are to start to lift up on your inhale, lifting up through your hips. And as you exhale, folding a bit further down. So find a version of this forward bend that works for yourself. Remembering that being up here is just as good an option as being further down. There's no prizes, no forcing. Stay for 3 more. And then release the toes, inhale halfway. And then we'll come all the way up. And exhale completely at the top. Good. Now, let's come back down to the mat and take a seat with the legs out in front of us. So, Dandasana, the seated staff pose. Along with mountain, it's one of the foundational poses of our practice. let's point the toes up towards the ceiling and just wriggle out so the sit bones have a nice connection to the mat. And send the heels away from the hips. And for some people, that means that the heels come off the mat. That's fine, just let that happen. And then have your fingers pointing forward and hands about at the side of the hips. Although if that doesn't feel so good on your back, leaning back a little with your fingers behind you might feel nice as well. So find a version that you like, lengthening in both directions away from the hips, and gaze at your toes for 5 breaths. Nearly there for 2. 1. And release your feet down and relax out of the pose. Okay, next pose. Janushasana, head to knee pose. Let's bring up the right knee and then drop the knee out to the side and then bring the heel into the top of the left thigh. Any niggling with this knee, make sure that you adjust by taking a wider angle at the knee. Don't work with any pain, especially here inside. If you feel your knee is really high up, with a block underneath to support it. Okay, let's sit tall and bring the attention here to the left hip. We're going to lift the chest and breathe in. And as we breathe out, we're going to fold forward over the left leg. And you can take your hands away, looking at your toes or looking at your knee as you prefer. Lengthening the hip away from the heel. And settling in for 5 breaths. And then on an inhale, lift your chest and walk your hands back in. Bring your knee up, come back to Dandasana, and then change onto the other side. Left knee up, left knee down. Bring your heel in, sit tall, and heel away from hip. Lift, and exhale to fold. Remember, you can look at your toes or you can look at your knee. It's up to you. Stay with a steady breath, no force. Next inhale, lift and walk your hands back in, straightening up. Okay, now let's bring the right foot in and find our way into Sukhasana. So we're nearly at the end of the practice. We'll just finish with a gentle movement through the side of the body. So right hand outside, left arm over. And we'll slowly move from one side to the other. So nice long breaths. Let's go once more to each side. And then coming back to the center. Roll the shoulders a few times. Good. Thank you for practicing with me today. Just a short focus practice on building some grounding energy in the body. Now you might want to take a rest. You could go to Shavasana or into constructive rest pose and take a few minutes to let the practice settle in the body. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you on the next video.